Hey everyone, welcome back to She Tried It. I've been so excited about my videos lately, and today is no different. Today, I got my hands on some Purl Soho yarn. You heard me right, I'm feeling extra bougie today. First things first, I had to get this hank turned into a ball so I could get started. In my last video, I gave y'all tons of pattern suggestions for yarn in your stash. If you missed that video, definitely go ahead and check it out. When I was completely stumped on what you could make, I opted for a simple rectangle scarf because it's so versatile, and I'll show you more of that at the end. If you're new to knitting, or if you're a crocheter who wants to learn to knit, or if you're an avid knitter that needs a break from all the complicated techniques knitting has to offer, this project is for you. You literally just need to learn 3 simple knitting skills: casting on, knitting, and binding off. This video is not a tutorial video, but instead a video to hype you up for your next favorite project. And even though this isn't a tutorial, don't worry, I got you. By the end of this video, you'll be more than ready to start your next project. Let's discuss those techniques one more time. First, casting on. The process of casting on is just placing your initial stitches on your needle. There are tons of ways to cast on stitches, but the 2 I'm going to suggest are long tail cast on thumb method and long tail cast on slingshot method. My personal favorite is the slingshot method. It makes for a sturdy cast on, and I promise it's not as hard as it looks. But if you want to go the super beginner route where you can't mess up, you can't go wrong with the thumb method. Now, how do you do these cast ons? Well, I'm glad you asked. This is where Purl Soho comes in once again to save the day. Check out the description box of this video. I'll link directly to an amazing beginner-friendly video tutorial by Purl Soho. I told y'all I wasn't gonna leave you hanging. My suggestion is to try both cast-ons and see which one you vibe with the best. This is your scarf, so go whatever route you choose. In the cast-on stage is where you decide what the width of your scarf is gonna be. Choose wisely because there's no turning back after this point. The yarn I'm using is extremely thin, but I wanted a rather wide scarf so it can be worn in a variety of ways. With that in mind, I cast on 75 stitches. That's by no means the amount of stitches you need to cast on, but if you go with the yarn that I used, this number worked for me. When it comes to a needle size, again, totally up to you. The point of this project is to learn and have fun, not stress about the details. I personally chose the needle size of 5.5 millimeters. Again, my yarn is extremely thin, and knitting thin yarn with small needles is not something I enjoy at all. Step 2, knitting. Now you're probably thinking, aren't all these steps knitting? And yes, you're technically right, but just like in crochet, how you have a chain row and a single crochet stitch and a double crochet stitch, regardless of the stitch or technique you're doing, it's all called crochet. Same with knitting. What you're doing in step 2 though is actually called the knit stitch. We'll be doing a knit stitch on the right side and the wrong side of the project. When I say we're keeping it simple, we're keeping it very simple. But don't worry, we won't be sacrificing the beauty of our scarf for the simplicity of this project. It's gonna be extremely cute no matter what. With knit stitch, there's no need to figure out what stitch to do next because you're doing the same stitch everywhere. And when you use knit stitch on the right side and the wrong side of your project, you get a gorgeous stitch pattern called garter stitch. During this step, we're working on the rows of our scarf and therefore determining the length of our scarf. Feel free to make it as long or as short as you see fit. Now what did I do? I just knit up whatever length I got by using 2 balls of yarn. 1, because the length was perfect for me at that point, and 2, because I honestly was just tired. I'm assuming that if you're watching this video, you're at least a somewhat beginner to knitting. And if so, I know when I started knitting, my biggest fear was having all my stitches fall off my needle. First off, don't think those negative thoughts. And second, there's a technique to help with that horrible fear. It's called lifelines. It's simply placing a random piece of yarn in the same place as your needle, so that if for some reason you drop a stitch or make a mistake, you only have to go back to your lifeline and setting the whole project from the beginning. Instead of being called lifelines, they should really be called lifesavers, because the amount of times lifelines have saved the life of my project is literally too much to count. Okay, so you finally got the scarf the length that you want. Step 3, binding off. We need to get those stitches off the needle securely because unfortunately we can't end the scarf with a lifeline. But again, this step is very easy, and I have a Purl Soho video tutorial waiting for you in the description box. And for those of you who learn best with pictures, I'll link that below as well. For each video tutorial, Purl Soho has a blog post including step-by-step pictures on how to do each thing we went over today. Once all those stitches are off your needle, it's the fun part, styling. I hope you enjoyed this make as much as I did. Thank you so much to Purl Soho for the amazing tutorials and for gifting me this lovely yarn. For those curious, I use linen quill yarn in the color Pink Pop. This yarn is great to work with and comes in a variety of fabulous colors. You won't be disappointed if you choose to use the same yarn for your project. That's it for today. Let me know if you end up making the scarf with the help of Purl Soho. Until next time, see you in my next video. Bye!